Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 23rd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 7 in the house, and today I am joined by Aysha. How you doing, Aysha?
Taran, hello. I think the better question is, how are you doing? Because how are you doing this? I feel like it's been a month of Big Brother that has happened during Angela's HOH reign. It just doesn't make sense. And so I just don't understand how you're keeping track of it all.
Yeah, it's day 7 in the house, but we started the updates on day 3 because that's when the live feeds. It's just really only been like 5 days.
That's insane. That is insane. Yeah, because I mean, it feels like there's just like a certain like fraction of people that are just you know when you turn the feeds on, they're going to be on the screen. And then there
Mhm.
are some people that it feels like an act like it feels like 4 days of covering the feeds because we're still like, oh, who not who are they, but what are they doing? Who are they aligned with? So I mean, this season has been very entertaining so far. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. So yeah.
And nothing is really solidified yet either. I mean, there are a bunch of different potential groups. We've talked about like the Pentagon and stuff like that, but like it really does not feel like we have an actual solid structure yet by any means. I assume that will start to come into place over the next couple of days, and then particularly with the next HOH. But even like usually when this happens, like say a Frenchie, you at least have a fake structure that's mostly put in place. But in this instance, that's like not even really. There are like multiple fake structures.
Yeah. And everyone knows it. That's what blows my mind. Is like everyone knows that well, that probably wasn't real. Then why did you do it? What purpose is it serving? I swear with the amount of alliances in this house right now, no one can keep track. It was one thing when you had like last season with like Suri and Izzy and you had everything going on, but at least they were like the center of it. Here is
Mhm.
just you don't know. You don't know. It could be just pick names out of a hat. Like when you put the graphic up, just close your eyes and point. They're probably in an alliance.
Probably. All right. Well, uh, let's pull up the graphic. Let's pull it up because this is what we have here. Of course, Angela, the HOH, nominated Kenney, Chemo, and Lisa for eviction. Lisa then won the veto, plans to take herself off the block, and this is where things got a little more interesting because Angela seemed to have maybe some second thoughts, had a long conversation with Matt where she apologized and he helped script a larger public apology. And he also proposed a couple of pawns in his place. Like, hey, if you don't nominate me, you could nominate Tucker. You could nominate Tikor. Um, and he then immediately told Tucker, "Hey, just to get ahead of this, I did say your name as a pawn. I just figured you want to compete, dog." And Tucker was like, "Yeah, I do want to compete, dog. Like, I got that dog." But then he went and was like, "I don't got that dog. I'm very upset about Matt pushing me as a pawn. I want this guy out of here. Screw this guy."
Yeah, they're literally so to use that logic, there are so many different competitions. But this one, the AI one, that's the one you want to compete in, Tucker.
Yes. So Tucker has turned completely anti-Matt. And remember, there is some history here. There's this kind of thing about Tucker and Matt and how they like talked about making a final two. One pitched the other, and each one says the other one did it. And then Matt just went around spreading it everywhere, like it was like a badge of like yeah, Tucker proposed a final two with me, but you know, and so that is part of the frustration here with Tucker, I imagine as well. However, because Matt is Matt and he really just believes anything that is positive for him, He's like, well, yeah, obviously Tucker wanted to work with me. Now he's willing to be a pawn. That's just the way things are. And so Tucker continued and has continued to act as though he is on board with Matt's plan to be a pawn. And he spends the morning of day 7 continuing to convince Matt that is the case. That he's like, yeah, I'm going up. It's gonna be me.
Yeah, I mean, and like, hey, why not? Like, if you are that comfortable, like he feels like he's in a good position with Angela, like, why not play it up for Matt? Because Matt believes that he is the star of the show. This is Big Brother 26 starring Matt. And I think that's kind of how he moves around the house, which is hilarious because it's just like, I want the confidence of that man.
Well, it's so fascinating because we'll talk about some of the implications of this throughout the day, but like Matt is so confident about his own like persuasive abilities that he really feels like if he gets into a conversation with anybody, they will basically like instantly fall in love with him and want to work with him. And because of that, it's very easy to talk to Matt and convince him that you're on his side. It's just like, hey, Matt, you're just so great. We should work together. And he's like, I know. We should work together. And so because of that, like most people in the house are able to trick him into thinking they want to work with him. And so he feels like he has most of the house. And then him feeling that way, then in turn, a little bit for some people convinces them that it's true. So there are people in the house, including Angela at times, who feel like he is running the game. He feels like he has everybody. He must have everybody.
Yeah.
And the delusion turns into a semi-reality to a small degree. It's very strange how the game works.
But it's like Matt's reality because it's like everyone has this perception, and we know in the Big Brother house, like perception is reality, right? But if that's no one else's reality but Matt, it's just, I don't know how they just don't. I mean, they start suspecting these things, and it's because it's not the whole house having this conversation about this. Then they would be like, oh, wait, we're all saying this. But when it's a couple of people, they're like, well, he has to have a group, right? Like he's that confident.
Yeah. So the other side of that was T-Core, who was proposed as a pawn as well. T-Core finally learns about that. There was a whole saga yesterday that we talked about where Angela was convinced that the T-Core had volunteered, had agreed to it. She eventually finds out that hey, it's you were volunteered as a pawn. And she's like, why did nobody tell me? Would have been nice.
Yeah. It's like T-Core's game is being played for her in other areas of the house. Like she's chilling. She's the which I I didn't realize how much she says that until you just actively watch the feeds for so long. And so she's just chilling, trying to get to know people. And this whole subplot is going on with Angela. And it's hilarious because it's just like that could actually affect T-Core's game. Like now that people have this, or they could have this perception that she volunteered to go on the block. Now moving forward, well, T-Core has volunteered in the past, so we can put her up now.
Which is part of why Tucker's strategy is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because he's, again, continuing to actively play up that he wanted to go on the block. And there's a good, like, now section of the house that just fully believes it. And so even after he doesn't end up on the block, he's like, I don't know why she did that. I was totally willing. I want to go up. Like, and they're like, yeah, we know you wanted to go up, Tucker. Like, damn, I can't believe she did that to you.
Right. It's just, I don't know what is going. Who said it the other day? Like, I think it was Chelsie. It was like, Big Brother, what are you putting in the water in here? Because it's just like a very specific just phenomenon going on with all of these thoughts that are just becoming realities to other people, and then people are playing off of that. I mean, mainly Angela, but yeah, it's wild.
Yes. Well, we do eventually get to the veto ceremony where, because of Tucker, Matt is blindsided by the fact that he's going up and not Tucker, and Matt has been nominated for eviction. Now listen, here's the thing. Matt's not upset about being on the block. That's fine. It's the apology that she was supposed to make that she did not do correctly. Because he scripted an apology for her and she went off book. She apologized in a different way, and how dare she?
Right. Because if it would have been the exact words that I gave her, then it would have meant something. Then it would have been a genuine apology. But because she used her own words, I don't believe it. Because she said, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry to your beloveds and not your mom.
Yeah.
That's the kicker.
It's not beloveds. It is my mom. Say my mom. Of course, Tucker has a field day with this. He's like, he's mad she didn't apologize right. Like,
oh yeah, she said beloved. She didn't say his mom. She didn't directly say him, but anybody in the house that can, count or sum up 1 + 1, they know that equals 2. And so it's just like, I don't think he would have been happy under any circumstance. I think this is just a projection. He is mad he's on the block. He thinks, okay, if I just enforce this confidence, I will have the numbers. Maybe I think I have the numbers, but I will have the numbers if I just keep saying it. But the weird part is I think he does genuinely believe it. But I think no matter what Angela would have said, he would have been mad.
Yes. There was somebody else who was very mad about this. And that was not Mackenzie or Leah. It was Kenney. Kenney was very upset. Why was Kenney very upset? Well, let me give you a brief history of Kenney in the game. He was nominated as the target for Angela. The target shifted to Lisa. And then when Angela informed Matt that the target was shifting off of Kenney, thinking he'd be pleased, Matt was like, oh no, actually, I'd prefer for Kenney to go. But then when the whole blow up happened, Kenney was like, I don't want Matt to go up next to me. Matt will stay. That's bad. And so then Matt went up next to him. And Angela said to Kenney, and he was like, that's no good. I don't like this. And Angela was like, hey, Kenney, I am counting on you to go in there and kick Matt's butt in the AI competition. And Kenney's like, I just don't have the desire to do that. It's like, what? Are you kidding me right now? He's like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. Matt's a great guy. I don't want to beat him. I don't want to stay in here over him.
He's my boy. He's my 1-2.
He's my 1-2. He does say that. Are you kidding me right now? This makes me sad for you. Don't be sad for me. It's not sad. It's like, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty sad. It's like, not if I walk out that door, I'll know I did what I needed to do. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Matt is not your son. And I'm pretty sure I didn't really examine. I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of like unfortunately not. And so they get into it because Kenney is essentially like, I want to go. I'll leave, and Matt can stay. Matt deserves it. He's such a good guy. This guy that just 2 days ago was hoping that I would leave over Lisa. And this is what Angela's like, are you like, this is the guy with his sweet talking where you're just getting sweet talked into like helping this guy who's like just running the house, trying to run the house. Like you're going to feel like a fool.
And she's beside herself, clearly, right? And he's like, well, look, you're the last one I want to be talking to about this because you are the reason I'm in this predicament. Which that was the only fair point he made. I think everything else was ridiculous. But Angela's coming from this place, but I'm trying to help you. I want the best for you. It's like, girl, you put him on the block.
He ends up leaving, and she's just like, I didn't realize this guy had no ambition. None. Let me tell you, that is never going to be me. I'm never going to lay my life down for one of you. I'm going to fight all the way.
The most hilarious part for me personally was I had turned on the feeds when she was saying that part. Who knew? I saw, what did Matt do? I was like, what? And I was trying to get some context. And then I was like, oh, she's talking about Kenney. What? It's just, and mind you, this whole conversation was publicly in the kitchen.
Yes.
So it's just like Angela's game is just on the front page for everyone to see. Everyone sees if you disagree with her in this way, like if you have a type of conversation that's going to spark up some type of, not even argument, but some type of exchange that things could get a little bit heated, she is not afraid to go there, right? So I don't know if that makes people more fearful to go against her or be aligned or make them want to align with her more, but it's just like there is a positive of what you see is what you get with Angela.
Yeah, I mean, at one point during the argument, she was just like, I mean, does anybody else see what I'm seeing right now? I mean, I don't mean to drag anybody else into this, but I mean, come on.
And poor Quinn was like, I am never going in that area again when something like that is happening.
If I'm walking toward the kitchen and I see Angela in there, I'm turning right back around. It's just not a safe space.
That's her arena.
So something else that made the rounds yesterday is that it was discovered that Angela has been on a few other shows, including The Price is Right. She was on, I believe, Let's Make a Deal.
Dr. Phil, House
and then I think most alarmingly, Dr. Phil. Where I honestly, I still haven't been able to watch the actual House Calls episode because it's apparently not on Paramount Plus anymore. I don't understand Dr. Phil. By the way, I think that show is gross. I turned on it turned on for 1 second. I was just like, oh my God, how is this still a thing?
Yeah, I hate to admit there was a certain point in my early teens where I was a Dr. Phil 3 o'clock every day watcher.
I mean, this is coming from somebody who dedicated my life to Big Brother. So, but man, that guy. Also, he has a really big chair, and his legs dangle from it, even though he's a very tall guy, and I found that very funny.
Right? Maybe there's just something to the freedom of just swinging your feet.
Listen, I like it.
Yeah. You know who else was on Dr. Phil that people discovered yesterday?
Who?
Brooklyn.
No way.
Yes. I saw the screenshot, but I'm like, roll the clip. What was the segment? What was she on there for? And I'm pretty confident it wasn't Photoshop. It was
do we know what she was on there for?
I don't know. I bookmarked the tweet just in case people had some more context, but yeah, I've seen it multiple times at this point. I don't know if we're just all coming from the same source or she was actually on Dr. Phil, but it was an old picture. I don't think somebody would have gone to Instagram and photoshopped that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite the listen, honestly, it's wild. It's wild. The Angela thing is wild.
Someone is saying that her home security system was hacked.
How is that a Brooklyn? Dr. Phil issue? I didn't realize Dr. Phil was into cybersecurity. Was Brett there?
Right. It's such a you anything under the sun could be on Dr. Phil. It's just a one-stop shop for anything.
Yeah. I guess that would be pretty traumatic if somebody hacked into your home security system and was watching you. But then also I wouldn't then think, oh, trauma, I should go on national television with Dr. Phil to
Yeah,
address it.
right.
Anyway,
Have you ever talked about Dr. Phil on a live feed update?
probably not, but
Right.
all right. So Matt, after being nominated, as I said, was also pretty upset. And he has a very long conversation with Lisa about it. And man, it's just like a bunch of nonsense in terms of like, what are
It's
we talking about?
I was talking to my mom about the feeds, and I think she was talking about them too. It wasn't yesterday, it was days ago. you know, days ago, it feels like. But she was saying, "Oh, these are just two people who like to hear themselves talk." And that is Matt and Lisa. Like they're only talking to hear themselves say what they need to say. Like it doesn't matter what the other person is saying. They're just like, okay, when is it my turn to chime in whatever I need to chime in? I couldn't believe how long this conversation was.
It was so long.
So long. And it took so many turns.
It did. They talked about everything under the sun, including the fact that people think she has the power, which she thinks is very silly. And including, he was just like, at one point, he starts going off on like, you didn't pick me for the veto. She's like, what do you mean? Why would I pick you for the veto? It's like, it just kind of makes it seem like you like weren't really supportive of me after the blow up, like why wouldn't you pick me for the veto? She's like, listen, Matt, you didn't ask me to pick you for the veto. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like after the blow up though, she's like, well, I wanted to win the veto myself. He's like, so why? It doesn't mean you can't pick me. And it just it would not stop. Like no matter what she said, he still was upset about it. It just kept going.
Right. It's just, I'm telling you, Big Brother 26 starring Matt, because he thinks the blow up is like, okay, now everyone rally behind Matt and let's take Angela down. When it's like, we are still in her HOH reign. Like, no one's trying to do that right now. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen on Thursday. How is this going to play out? Who am I going to vote for? And the whole power thing with her, it was just so funny how she kept trying to nip it in the bud. And then he brings other people into it. She's like, no, Matt, stop. You're putting this out there. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and the weirdest thing about the Lisa Power thing is that a lot of people think this. A lot of people think that Lisa has a power, but she didn't even compete in the upgrade competition. Like she competed in the downgrade competition,
Yeah.
and it's we've already talked about this a little bit. It's so wild to me that people have not been able to figure this out. It's so easy that there are very concrete paths to discovering who has what, who competed in what competition. And instead, they're completely going off of social reads and just like, I don't know, seems like it. And it's just like, what is happening? Like, ask her some questions. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like what did you like tell me about the competition? What did you have to do?
She'd be able to tell you, I was able to use my shoulder to move the thing because that was in the rules. And you'd be like, that's a very specific piece of knowledge to know if you competed in the upgrade competition that you probably have no knowledge about whatsoever. And so it's just like, it's very strange. But then on top of that, one of the people who is most convinced that Lisa has the power is Angela, who we talked about yesterday, is very convinced about it. But Angela knows that Quinn got the upgrade. Quinn was in the same group as as Lisa.
Yeah. I think Angela just may be so far removed. Like, Angela has played at least 15 games of Big Brother between right now and when they did those competitions. So it's just like that piece, it's just irrelevant in her mind. It matters so much, but it's just she's whatever. I believe this, and everything else that happens is going to support my belief.
Mm-hmm. So, the Lisa conversation happens. Lisa, despite the obnoxious conversation, is still kind of unsure about what to do with her vote. Lisa is one of these people that has been convinced by Matt being convinced that Matt must have the votes, and therefore she's concerned about committing to voting against Matt, thinking that that would be a vote against the house. She'd be happy to vote out Kenney over Chemo, but if Matt is against Chemo, she's not sure what she will do because she doesn't want to go against the house. And that is concerning news to, of course, Chemo, who would love to have as many votes as possible. I don't think that Lisa is particularly loyal to Matt by any means. I think she genuinely is just thinking that he must have the votes. The problem is that, like, nobody has told her yet that he definitely doesn't.
Right. It's because she spent, 2 or 3 hours talking to Matt. If you do that, like, that's going to make you believe, wow, okay, this is all I know at this point. I swear, you would have thought Lisa was the one that was still on the block yesterday with the amount of time she was on the feeds.
Yeah. Quinn has told another person about his power. And we didn't really know this, but he is going to talk to Chemo about his power. And so Chemo also knows Quinn has the power. He also knows what it is. And that alone was like, okay, you've told another person. But on top of that, Quinn has an idea that he wants to share with Chemo about what he might do with the power. Like, okay, Quinn, big fan. He's been playing really well. Maybe a little messy with who he's telling things to, but, like, I'm interested to see how his strategic mind functions. So he says, all right, I win HOH next week. Okay. It's probably a good move. It's second HOH.
Good plan.
Probably gonna like solidify the house structure, be in a really good spot. And then on top of that, you basically guarantee yourself another HOH in the next 2 weeks because you have basically an HOH power. I'm liking this so far, Quinn. I win HOH next week. Then I use my power to hijack my own HOH. So, hold on. So he's going to win HOH and then use his power to hijack his own HOH. The hope would be that by doing so, it would clear him of having the power. Because why would he hijack his own HOH? To which I ask, yes. Why would you hijack your own HOH?
Right. This is not we always hear, I don't want to get blood on my hands. I don't want to get blood on my hands. This is next level. This is like, I don't want to get blood on my hands. I also don't want you to think that I know that blood exists. Like, it's insane to think that is the only avenue to not to making people think you don't have the power, when it's like you are giving up a week of safety because you have HOH. You're safe for a week. Save the power for another week, so then you're safe again.
I mean, it feels fairly obvious, and Chemo. I will maintain so far that Chemo seems to have a pretty good strategic mind. He's just not very aggressive as a player. Chemo is kind of like, wouldn't you want to, like, save it though? In the same way that later when Angela talks to Chemo about Lisa having the power, he's kind of like, Lisa's in the same group as Quinn, right?
Yeah, right. It's these subtle, like, reminders, like, I don't want to seem like a know-it-all or anything.
But he doesn't push. He
Yeah.
does not push.
Yeah. He says it so softly they can't hear him. He's like, I put it out there.
He's hoping that Quinn is hoping that if he does this plan, that everyone will blame Lisa for having the power, using the power, hijacking his HOH. But like the like this is a plan that I think is very silly to begin with because as we've already talked about, you're wasting the power on a week where you already have HOH. But you're also, in addition to that, you're wasting your HOH.
Yes.
Where everyone's going to come to you for things. If you're hijacked, they're not going to come to you for things. You're useless.
The goal is no one should think he has the power. He's like, does not care about any other element about the benefits of being HOH. He's just like, that power, man.
And then I have a third thing. And it's the most obvious thing. It's the thing we started with. This whole plan rests upon the fact that you're trying to blame somebody else for it. And you've now told two separate people that you have the power, and one of them about the plan specifically.
Yeah. Things are way too in the air right now. You know, like with all of these different configurations of people, they're still in that I'm trying to lock down who I actually trust phase. What if Chemo's not that person for Quinn? Like things could change next week.
Or, hey, Angela knows you have the power. That itself means you can no longer do anything anonymously with the power. Like you cannot trust that will stay a secret. It's just like, okay. Now here's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen. Even if he did win HOH, I feel like there's no way he actually goes through with this. Chemo's going to be like, listen, you really should.
Right.
He might have just been spitballing. And honestly, part of me, Angela has infected me with some of her paranoia because she was talking about like she's intentionally lying poorly so people think she's a bad liar. I was like, is Quinn intentionally saying a really bad plan to make people think he's not very strategic? And the answer to that is no, there's no way. Yeah. But it did cross my mind, and it's because of Angela. Anyway, Tucker, of course, throughout the day is going to continue to rant about Lisa and how much she sucks and how bad at cooking she is and how she like drinks glitter and he just doesn't like Lisa, but also he doesn't like Matt, but he's still pretending he likes Matt. In fact, it's one of those things where like because he now hates Matt, he wants to trick Matt. So he's actively spending more time talking to Matt and being nice to Matt and being like, yeah, I really wish I'd gone up on the block, man. And now Matt is like, Tucker's great. I love Tucker now. And so like he's actually getting closer with people that he doesn't like. And they are liking him even more. And it'll be very funny to see, what happens.
I like this little subplot of interesting ways that Lisa is annoying Tucker, because it's just like at this point, did you see the way she walked down the stairs? She's so annoying. It's just, and maybe it is just Lisa and Tucker is the only one voicing it, because even Quinn was annoyed by how Lisa announced that it was time for the veto ceremony. So I don't know. Maybe you just have to live with Lisa to really know.
Honestly, Tucker's one of those people that I would be scared of interacting with because I really wouldn't want him to not like me. I'd be very scared about what he was saying behind my back.
Right. I think what it was, he was venting about Matt for like a long time with Chemo upstairs. Comes down, hey bro, full on hug. I was like, that's scary. Because Matt has no clue.
Lisa was asking, I'm pretty sure it was Chemo about this, and she was like, does Tucker like not like me? He was like, nah, I mean, like there's like some, stuff about the cooking stuff. And she's like, yeah, but like funny, right? He's like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
To some people. You should have said that.
Oh boy. So that's what Tucker's up to throughout most of the day, while also, again, making sure to lock in as many votes against Matt as possible. He has a long conversation with Mackenzie, where, again, he just plays up how he's on their side now. And afterwards is like, haha, she slipped up. I know they would have voted me out. Like, he's very much still anti that whole group. So Chemo is going to talk with T-Core some more. They pledge to protect each other. They talk about who they want to work. T-Core likes Lisa and wants to work with Lisa, but Chemo is pretty skeptical of Lisa at this point because she's not willing to commit to voting against Matt. So there's a little bit of a rift there. But they do still have like a long conversation about working together, protecting each other, and how there are probably like groups or a group happening that they are not a part of and that they need to look out for each other because of that. And so this relationship is still flourishing at this point, despite the Lisa hiccup.
And they were one of the few conversations of the day, like back to what we were saying with trying to figure out who has the power. They were discussing who was like who played in what competitions and trying to figure out, well, okay, if they were, at least there was some thought happening there, but you would think there would be so much more of that outside of like how subtle they were doing it. And it was mostly Chemo talking. T-Core she's a great listener.
The barber shop continues to basically pretend to be, they like will occasionally just like get together in a room and be like, yeah, like let's go barbershop, let's go. And then half of the members will be like, so we're still voting out Matt, right? And they'll be like, yes. Yes.
Yeah, this particular meeting was Matt hyping them up. Yeah, like if you start to doubt people, go to your person, talk to them, you'll feel okay. And it's just like, okay, of the 8 people that are in there, or however many, you're the one that's on the block. Shouldn't that be reassuring you if this is a thing? And there's like not a single person in there because I was like, oh, maybe Matt and Mackenzie are the ones that believe in this. Not even them. So what did y'all do that for? You're wasting all of your time on this fake alliance because someone's just going to use that as an excuse. Like, oh, someone betrayed the barbershop. Because they were saying now they want to refer to it as BS, which is what it is.
It's just like, honestly, we're covering a show on Nebula called The Getaway where like everyone is the saboteur basically, but they don't know it. They all think that they're the individual saboteur. And it's very funny because they're all like doing poorly at the challenge, thinking that they're getting one over on the others, but everyone's actually, that's what the BS alliance is.
Yes.
They're all like, I'm referring to it as BS because it's BS and I know it's BS, but they don't. But everyone feels that way.
It's just, if anything, these casual meetups that are happening, all that's good. Let Angela catch one time. Like that is going to cause chaos. So it's like, if this isn't even real to you, don't even put yourself in the position to be caught by somebody else that's not in it.
Yeah. Oh man. So despite the BS alliance, Chelsie is still very much on board with taking out Matt. She's gonna, lock in with Joseph and T-Core. Like, hey, we're like, the numbers are here. Like, we need to make sure that people know the numbers are here, so that people like Lisa don't vote against what they want. And of course, Chelsie herself can't vote. But despite that, the votes should be there. Brooklyn talks to Chemo and lets him know that like she's supporting him. Cam is gonna lock in that he is willing to vote out Matt. Cedric and Chelsie can't vote, but Joseph is very much against Matt. Joseph is like full on anti-Matt now. Like, he tried with Matt and then and it blew up in his face, and now he's one of the people that Matt's the most upset with. Because he tried the hardest to actually work with him instead of just pretending to. And so Joseph is like, listen, if he stays and comes after me, it is what it is. I'm against him. So you've got Brooklyn, Cam. Yeah. Brooklyn, Cam, Joseph. Then you have Quinn, you have T-Core, you have Tucker, That's 6 alone. You only need 6. So that's it. Rubina, I would assume is going to be leaning in that direction as well, but it's hard to say exactly where Rubina stands at this point. Leah and Mackenzie, of course, are probably looking to vote to keep Matt, but to be honest, Leah, I think, could go in other directions, especially if she knows the numbers aren't there. And then Lisa also seems to be voting to keep Matt, but only because she thinks that that's what everyone else is doing, and she may also change if she finds out that that's not what everyone else is doing.
Oh, I could not imagine if she continues to think that, and then she's a one vote.
That would be
Oh,
pretty funny.
yeah, that would be hilarious.
Okay, so uh there's some more movement with another potential alliance. And it's one that that Angela has had her eye on because she knows that there's something going on in that have not and it has nothing to do with the fact that that is the only room that she can like actively watch constantly. She knows there's something going on, and there in fact is. That the have not room, of course, is Cam, Quinn, Chemo, and Tucker. And they have come up with a potential alliance name, the Mr. Andersons. And they would like to potentially lock something in. And so these four are we certainly know that Quinn is tight with Chemo. He told him about the power. Tucker is fully like on board with like what they're doing. He had a long conversation with Cam the other day about taking out Matt. Cam is probably the person who is, I would assume, the least invested in this group
Yeah, it
because he has so many
seems.
other options. And Quinn has other options too, but I don't know if he likes those other options as much as some of the potential options in this room. But I don't know exactly how invested he would be either. I think this alliance is probably most for Tucker's benefit, and then a little bit for Chemo's, and then Quinn and Cam are probably gonna just kind of like keep their eyes open for anything else that pops up.
Yeah, I think it'll be very clear if this is a real thing for Cam. Well, I guess it's hard to say because everything's happening live on Thursday. But if we see Cam making sure that Chemo stays, because
Right.
I don't know if I've seen, it's been more of an anti-Matt, but like, okay, if Matt wins and it's Chemo and Kenney, we just want to make sure that Chemo is the one that they want to keep. I mean, it seems that way with the social dynamics, and Kenney hasn't been doing much. He's already seeming like he's 1 foot out of the door. But yeah, I think it's an interesting group if they can make it work.
Yes, Cam is just such a passive player in terms of like not really pushing for much right now. He's just kind of like allowing himself to be invited into a bunch of different things. Not quite as passive as maybe like Chemo was, but like just focusing on social game, focusing on relationships and being supportive of people, and then allowing like his physique and just kind of general like he seems like such an asset to be on your side that a lot of people want to pull him. He's basically everything Matt thinks he is.
Yeah.
Um, where like everyone wants to work with Cam. And he's just kind of letting that like he's just riding that right now. It doesn't really feel like he's completely chosen a path beyond. I do think he is most loyal to Cedric and Chelsie.
Yeah.
But like where he wants to bring that group, I'm still not entirely sure. And I think probably Pentagon in general. But still, like I'm not sure how long that will last, and so I'm not. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, and credit to Cedric and Chelsie with that too, because if you have the one guy that everybody wants to work with who's seemingly most loyal to you all right now, and they don't even have any power this week. They couldn't do anything. But still, I forgot that was even a piece of it, because like imagine that was Angela or Lisa or Matt that didn't have any, that could we wouldn't have heard the end of it. Like it would have been a constant narrative throughout the week. But with Cedric and Chelsie, they've just kind of like, all right, this is my position right now, and I'm just going to play my game, even though I can't compete or whatever. And it's worked out. I think that's a solid 3 right there, especially because they've made different groups around them. So it'll be, I think that's a good core.
Yes, the core. So, there is a pretty interesting exchange between Angela and Quinn last night, where she was asking him like, "Does anybody else know about the power?" And he was like, "I told Chemo that we were going to be okay, but that's it. Nobody else knows about the power." So, like, I think the idea here is to try to maybe hedge in case it's revealed that Chemo knows. He can be like, "Oh, he must have guessed, because of what I told him." But bit of a tell, I think. When you ask somebody like a straight up question and they hedge, it's they're usually trying to like not lie as outright as possible. But he's like, "Listen, I'm all in with you. I've told only you, and I would love to lock in something with me, you, and Chemo." And he talks about like the collective and how he really wanted to make that work. He was very mad that like they used that name and then ditched it immediately. He was like, "I've had that name ready since I was in like 6th grade."
What was the in BB22 with the alliance with like Memphis and Cody, and they like they named the same alliance with different people
The
in it. Whatever that was.
It wasn't the gentleman, right? It was
The committee. The committee.
the committee. Oh, I thought you meant the one with the Enzo on one side and
Oh,
Christmas on the other.
was that name something different?
The wise guys.
Oh, the
That was
wise
what it was.
guys. Yes, the wise guys. So basically, that's what I think. Quinn, I adore Quinn. Quinn is very likable to me, and I've just been enjoying watching him be very self-aware about what's going on in his game, like when he talks to the cameras. But if he adores the collective, just scrap the other people, make the collective who you want the collective to be, and just keep the name. You own the name.
So I do. So part of me does feel like, to get back to my Angela paranoia, this I think genuinely has a small chance, at least, of being a thing that he's just saying to try to convince her it was a genuine idea from him, because she basically accused him, amongst others, of the low budget movie. Like that was Quinn.
Yeah.
Like he approached her with the collective. She was basically calling the collective out as fake. And so I think that part of saying this is like, hey, the collective is a name that I really cared about. I was really excited about this. Like that was not fake on my end. Other people ruined it. And the other people that ruined it, he says to Angela, Cedric. He does not seem to be like the biggest Cedric fan.
I was kind of surprised by this because they did have a conversation earlier in the Have Not room where Cedric was like borrowing Quinn's glasses or something. And then they, it was just a casual conversation. And then they started talking game, and it seemed like, okay, they may have like a working relationship, but I had no idea that Quinn was like, can't work with Cedric.
And again, I don't know exactly how genuine it is, but like that would be very interesting because, of course, Cedric is part of the Pentagon, which is one of the more solid structures that you would assume is there. And that means that Quinn probably is looking for something else beyond that. And perhaps if he were to very secretly use his power to take a shot at somebody, maybe he feels like Cedric is the person he would want to take a shot at, considering that Cedric is in like many of his alliances. And if he's able to like snipe Cedric out of the game with a power that nobody knows about, then he might feel like that puts him in a better position. I don't think that Cedric is worth taking a shot at, though, at this point, especially if you have to hijack your own HOH for it.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people view Cedric's just 21. And if anybody has that view, like Cedric's not an immediate threat. But can you remind me who's in the Pentagon?
So it's Cam, Cedric, Chelsie, Brooklyn, and Quinn.
Oh, okay.
And so Cam, Cedric, and Chelsie are that core. And so, yes, I mean, if you were able to snipe somebody like Cedric out of the game, especially if you want to work with Cam and Chelsie, like that's much better for you. It's hard to do that if you're publicly doing it because then you're pissing off Cam and Chelsie. But like, there are other ways, you know, like
Yeah.
there are other things you can do. You don't have to waste your power on it. Uh, so yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with all this Cedric stuff. But this is again why like there's everything is so fluid. And so Angela says, "I want to work with you, have not, guys." He's like, "Yeah, I think we could make something like that work." They end up talking with Chemo. What was really interesting to me was the initial conversation with Angela, where she's asking him, "Am I the only person you told about your power?" He says, "Yes, absolutely." And she says, "I think I know who has the other one." He's like, "Joseph?" "No." "Who?" "I don't want to say right now. I hope you understand. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just like I don't want to give up that information like right now." She's saying to the guy who told her about his power. He's like, "No, I get it. Yeah." She's like, "You probably feel the same way that, it's not that you don't trust me, but you wouldn't want to tell me something like this." And he's like, "Well, no, because I did tell you about my power."
Right. This is a very specific comparison. It's not apples to oranges, it's apples to apples.
Yeah. And like that did happen. They did say like she did say that. Um and then but then eventually she shares her theory with both him and Chemo as they talk more about working together, that she thinks that perhaps Lisa has it. At which point it gets weird because both Quinn and Chemo should know for sure that Lisa doesn't have it, but also Angela doesn't know that Chemo knows about the power, and so they're supposed to also be able to play dumb about, like, they can't say why they think Lisa doesn't have it because they're not like, Quinn's not supposed to be open about it in front of Chemo, and Chemo's not supposed to know, and so Chemo's still like, wasn't Lisa in the same group as you, Quinn?" But, like, so I'm assuming that they understand, they just couldn't say, but, you can't be sure.
Yeah, it's so funny watching updates in these like reading updates on Twitter during these conversations. Like, yeah, they said this parentheses, but they should know this. We're like, we don't actually know because we have people like Matt, So it's just like some people may not actually be fully aware. I mean, Angela fully believes that it could be Lisa, even though she has the evidence that it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Another interesting thing that Quinn pointed out, though, was that one of the reasons why Matt leaving is so good is because it hopefully opens Leah up to be able to like work with her. He would love to work with Leah. They both like Leah, but she's just so locked in with Matt and Mackenzie that that's a bit of an issue. So if Matt leaves, then that would be like basically what is being implied here about Leah's game is that there's still hope for her if Matt leaves at this point because she can still integrate with others. But like the longer Matt stays in the game with Mackenzie and she's like the third in their trio, the longer it's going to be, the more difficult it's going to be for her to like be able to reintegrate with the rest of the house afterward.
Yeah, Leah is one of those that she can talk for 20 minutes unprompted. Like
Oh
she
yes.
just talked. I think that she was having a conversation with Joseph, and I was just kind of like, when did Joseph ask any question that prompted this topic change in the middle of her talking? It just she can talk, 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 but it's like working for her because she's still so likable to people. But it's hilarious to watch.
I've never seen a more socially, like, isolated person where, like, she's constantly with Matt and Mackenzie, but then because she just never stops socializing, she's also in tons of groups, and like will look at, but she very rarely will talk strategy with anybody outside of Mackenzie and Matt, and so that's kind of a problem.
Yeah. And I think it is still early enough to
Mhm.
where like this conversation with Quinn and Angela and Chemo was we like her. Like we want to work with her and like maybe there's that potential if Matt leaves, but they're like right now we just like her. We don't know if we can work with her.
Yes.
Um but I guess unrelated, are you on potential showmance alert with Quinn and Leah?
I know that there are people who are.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, Quinn did say he really likes Leah, would like to work with Leah. But, I'm not sure. I haven't seen enough to feel confident in reporting on Showman. I know that, but I know it's out there.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it. I feel like the flirting is in the air, right? Definitely not flirtments at best. They're I don't, and they may not even become a showmance, but I do like seeing them interact because it's very fun and flirty and innocent.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's pretty much, I think, what I've got from the day. Asia, anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Well, there was a really long conversation with Matt and T-Core that I thought that T-Core was being clear when she was adding to the conversation. But then Matt walked away from that conversation saying, "Hey, if everybody's voting to keep me, T-Core said she's voting to keep me too." I'm like, "Matt, T-Core literally told you that Chemo is the closest person to her in this house." So that was very weird because it was a very long conversation where I don't think he heard a word that she said.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how it, I mean, to be fair, it was like 90% him doing the talking.
Yeah, yeah,
So
true. Told you. Yeah, yeah. He loves to hear himself speak.
people are also asking about the Tucker thing. I have no idea, quite frankly. He had this moment on the feeds where he was like, it seemed like he was maybe crying, and he started talking about uh like like being a winner is hard or something. It was like something like he just kept repeating some words to himself. It
Mhm.
didn't seem like he was sad. It seemed like he was pumping himself up.
Was that
Um,
before the have-nots were done?
yeah, I think so. I think it was before then. So
Yeah.
maybe it was have-not stuff. Maybe it was in anticipation for have-nots coming up.
Yeah, because
I'm not sure, to be honest.
he went in. I think it was Brooklyn made some spaghetti for everybody. He was eating the spaghetti, like, off of the plate with his mouth. Forget the fork that was on his plate. He was devouring it. There were some very happy have-nots at midnight.
Mhm. Some people are saying they feel like maybe he was just hungry and he was kinda just, like, pumping himself up to get through the day, which, certainly possible. Um, alright, anything else, Asia?
I think that's it. I think it'll be very interesting to finally see how Thursday plays out. So, we can kind of get a better idea of how they're going to be able to plan against that with future HOHs. But yeah, I think because it's like, yeah, do you want to nominate somebody will beat the other two nominees or how do you want to play it out? But yeah, this cast is definitely entertaining. So there hasn't been a dull moment yet.
Yes. All right. Well, that is what we have for you then here today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. We will also have the first roundtable of the season tonight. Um, and we'll rate the players. We'll talk through everything going on in the house this week. Tomorrow there will also be an episode. I'll be on Twitch watching the episode, so you can come and hang out with me there. And then we'll be back here to recap the episode tomorrow night. We'll also have the getaway coverage. We've got scripted coverage coming. The tastemakers, where we talk about shows and movies and all kinds of fun stuff there. Yeah, that's about what we've got for you. Thank you all so much for joining us here today, and I will see all of you next time. But first, a word from Leah.
I will be back tomorrow with live updates of the Big Brother house. Be there or be square. Cha-ching!